the Tea Party movement started after Rick Santelli, who's on CNBC, had this rant about the stimulus bill. And it started very organically. We tweeted about it, and then we had a conference call about it the very next day. And then after that conference call, or during that conference call, we decided we were going to have tea parties, which is one of the things Santelli said in his rant. Let's have a tea party like our founding fathers did right here in Chicago. Well, this was February, so we decided to strike while the iron was hot. We're getting a lot of media attention. It was hot on Twitter. And we did the tea parties the following week, the end of February, rather than waiting until July 4th. And we then started the next round of tea parties for April 15th, because what better day to protest government spending than on tax day, we thought. So we didn't have, we kind of call it open source politics. We didn't know what we were doing. We got on that conference call knowing, okay, we're going to talk about this rant and tea parties. And then we decided we're going to have a tea party. What does a tea party do? We have no clue. Especially, most of us were conservative. We didn't know how to protest. The left definitely had that much better than we did. My first protest, pouring down rain, about 500 people show up. And they're businessmen in suits with their ties on, holding umbrellas and a sign. It was definitely not what I saw in the images from the 60s. But we learned how to do that by communicating on Twitter and on Facebook and having conference calls with the people who were stepping up, deciding we're going to have a tea party group. We're going to have this group. And we made it possible. The way that we were functioning was just, if you wanted to host a tea party, you were a local coordinator, and you could host a tea party. And we sent a few little directions, and people would give us feedback, and we just kept building from it. We didn't set out, it wasn't this top-down structure. And it wasn't somebody saying, hey, we're going to have tea parties, we're going to have this many on April 15th, and this is exactly how they're all going to work, and we want you, and you to do it. It was very organic. What we didn't, in that organic nature, it empowered people. It empowered the people who wanted to step up and do something, to step up and do something. What we didn't know at the time is that we were following the starfish and the spider model. We didn't want any one person to be in charge. We felt like we're trying to model our organization at Tea Party Patriots similar to the way that we want the government to work. We want it to be a smaller government, and we're sick of people telling us what to do. Well, if we're sick of elected officials telling us what to do, we felt like we had to live by that and not tell other people what to do. So we work with our local coordinators to decide how are we going to, what issues are we going to take up? How are we going to tackle these issues? Are we going to have a protest? Are we going to have go to town halls? What are we going to do? And we do this with our local coordinators every single week through a webinar. And it's sometimes very grueling. It's very messy. It's not neat and structured the way the RNC and the DNC are. It's very, very messy. We get on these webinars, we kind of have an agenda, and we just go through highlights from the previous week or whatever is coming up, and then we try to wrap that part up by, like, they start at 9 o'clock Eastern time. We try to wrap up the announcements by 9:20 to 9:30, and then we open it up for questions. Sometimes we're on these webinars. Once we were on for 6 hours and 40 minutes. Luckily, that was only one time, but most of the time it's somewhere between 2.5 and 3 hours, and it's just this constant feedback, and the local coordinators tell us how they want us to work at Tea Party Patriots. And we found that it does allow us to adapt very, very quickly, and we can react quickly instead of having to move this whole entire machine to change what you're doing and go from one issue to the next. The machine is just moving itself. It does it automatically because the arms are going in different directions. And when we have enough of us who decide we're going to go after a particular issue, like debt ceiling is hot right now. When enough of us are frustrated with debt ceiling, then that's what we're going to to talk about. So it's not the norm. It's a much different paradigm than the way that what I had seen, because I've been involved in politics from the Republican Party side at my local and state level. It's much different than the way that the Republican Party at least worked in any political campaigns that I worked on. You're going to do this, and you're going to do this, and it's very, very structured. So we've got this whole new paradigm, and from what I've been told and the little bit that I've learned, the way that Move On has worked, they do a lot of things very similar to this. And one thing that we've tried to tell politicians is that the paradigm that you're used to, it's gone. This is people-driven, it's citizen-driven, and if you're not doing what we want, we're going to find people who will. We're going to keep the pressure on you to have you do what we want. And so that's how we operate at Tea Party Patriots. I want to say one more thing. I had the opportunity, it's been, wow, I don't know, maybe November or December of 2009, I met Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice Thomas. I didn't meet him. I met his wife, Virginia Thomas, Jenny Thomas. And very quickly I was telling her how we were structured. We had like 8 minutes to talk. And she said, have you ever read this book, The Starfish and the Spider? And I said, no. So I went and I got it and I read it. And we've told thousands of people about this book. I just purchased 30 more of them last week for the meeting this weekend. And it's a very powerful book. The way that we're organized is so much different. And your book really helped us, because I was in 2009, we're in 2011 now, figure out, oh, this is actually what we're doing. We were doing it, but we didn't know. And it really helped us figure it out and be more effective.
Thank you.